the Pick-6 podcast, talking all things NFL.
Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of the Pick-6 podcast with me, Connor Charlton, and as always, Luke Jones. It's the last of the 2021 season, unfortunately. We had an epic Super Bowl, a brilliant Super Bowl. We're here to look back on it, and look back on the season as a whole. First time a full season with fans back after COVID and all that nonsense. And it's been a great season. I've loved every single minute of it. And yeah, we're just going to wrap it up all here in the last episode before we head into the off-season for 2022. We will have one or two episodes, probably a month for the start of it. Then we'll be back for a draft. And then obviously once camp and everything gets off, we'll be well back on your way, looking ahead to an exciting 2022 season, I'm sure. So we are here today to talk about Super Bowl 56, which, if you haven't noticed, or if you don't know already, where have you been for the last 5 days? The LA Rams were victorious over the Cincinnati Bengals, thanks to a last-minute touchdown by Cooper Kupp, who was the MVP. So yeah, I loved it. I thought it was a great Super Bowl, one of the better ones of the last few years, because there's been a few, I look back at the Rams, I mean, they scored more points on that opening drive, the first touchdown, than we did in the entire last time they were in the Super Bowl. So they performed better, obviously. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Obviously, it was an amazing halftime show, one of the best there's ever been, if not the best, with Snoop Dogg and all the others. And for some strange reason, 50 Cent upside down. I still don't know why he was, but he was. But yeah.
Because he is in his original video, isn't he?
Ah, right. See.
Yeah,
we were all about this at work today.
Video for the song he did, he's upside down in it, I believe, anyway.
Thank God we have you here. But what was your thoughts on the actual football, not just the amazing entertainment?
I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
Even though I was so tired, because obviously it was but I wasn't tired from boredom or anything. I wasn't struggling to get to the end or anything like that. It was just jam packed all the way through. So even when I was getting that lull where I was getting just to the point where my head, I'm like a nodding dog, I was still quite engaged. It wasn't obviously that third quarter was just a bit trying to feel each other out, weren't they? It was a bit weird, that one, but I thought the other 3 quarters were just absolutely lights out. It was just two great attacks versus each other. Defense didn't become an option until the fourth quarter, did it?
No, I like you say, normally I do get a bit tired towards the end of that fourth quarter. I was on the edge of my seat, the edge of my bed, because I was in bed watching it. It was an enthralling encounter all the way to the last drive, because you still thought Joe Burrow could go down the field here and score when he got that ball back with about 1:20 to go. And yeah, but we'll go right back to the beginning. OBJ opening the scoring. Unfortunately, he did suffer that ACL injury, which I in the same knee he did last time against the Bengals, as he did last season. He's finally won a Super Bowl, but it was so bittersweet for him. It was a great start for him, to get that touchdown early on in the Super Bowl. He probably had a lot of weight on his shoulders, because he's been one of, if not the best wide receiver in the league for the time he's been here. Him and obviously Antonio Brown, troubled as he is, a brilliant wide receiver. And yeah, to get that touchdown so early on, he's equalled his touchdown that he got the entire time in Cleveland, which their fans don't want to hear. But that move just worked out so well for him to the Rams. Obviously, he becomes a free agent now if the Rams don't want to re-sign him. But obviously, there's talk he might even end his career. He's second ACL in as many years in the same knee. It'll be tough to come back from this one, but what a way to go out, I guess. What a start for the Rams it was as well, because, I think it was the same old story for the Bengals in that first quarter, where it was, that first half even, they got into the red zone a few times, and they couldn't finish that drive. As good as Joe Burrow has been this season, there was a lot of times in the playoffs when your kicker has made 14 for 14, he's been on the field a few too many times.
Yeah, it was I just don't think they were that imaginative with the plays. I thought, because when you get towards Super Bowl, they tend to go right into the bottom of the bag for the plays, but it just seemed that the Bengals didn't have anything really. Like, because obviously Jamar Chase is going to get doubled. He's going to get man-marked by Jalen Ramsey, but Jamar Chase is a good enough player that if you give him a route, he's going to get the ball. And I just thought it was just a bit. They should have absolutely should have been all over the Rams like the Rams were all over the Bengals. And I thought at the start, Rams were just going to absolutely. I thought, they got that first touchdown so easily, and I was like, it's not good this. And then they only answered back with a field goal, and I was like, Rams could probably score on every play. And if the Bengals can't answer them, and then I can't see them staying in it. But Joe Burrow was just great again. And for somehow, they stopped Aaron Donald until the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Going back to, obviously...
I guess it's just exhaustion, that, isn't it? I guess that was just exhaustion.
Oh, yeah. So going back to that Bengals first field goal, it was from that big play to Jamar Chase. It was a great catch by him. And he was so close to getting that touchdown. I think they stacked 4 yards out. And I think that's, in the Super Bowl, especially, in any NFL game, you need to finish that drive off after what? I think it was 52 yards or something, that pass from Burrow to Jamar Chase. That should be getting finished off. And then obviously to only come away with the field goal must be frustrating, on the sidelines, because then the Rams went back up the field and added another 7. It was 14-3. And then obviously the first touchdown for Bengals didn't even come from a pass from Joe Burrow. It came from Mixon, which was one of our tips on the podcast last week. So it was nice for one of those to come through. A non-quarterback player to score a touchdown. My fat fingers pressed a Rams player instead of any player. And I was very good to realise I did with my 20 quid I'd have won. But he got them back again.
Yeah, I won £20 for that.
Yeah, so there we go. At least one of us did. My friend who knows nothing about the NFL, I told him to put that one on. I got a very happy message about 2 o'clock going, I'm buying the round for he was out for it. He was buying the rounds for his friends. So at least I made one person happy. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the game did change when Odell Beckham had to go off because of the injury. You could tell straight away. You messaged me like ACL again. You could tell that by his face, his expression. But I mean, the replay, obviously, where the shape of his knee, you could tell, he's done something bad there. And that's when the Rams lost all momentum. They couldn't get anything going. Kupp, obviously, being the guy that he is, he was pretty much out of the game in that. Up until the fourth quarter. In that third quarter, it was basically punt zone, wasn't it? One to another. But yeah, after that one, the Bengals really did get on top. But like we were saying, they'd have got the ball back for that second half, and they couldn't manage to get a touchdown just before the half, receiving the ball back. But it didn't matter, because on the first play, I missed this actually. I was at the toilet. I just, I watched the thing. I was like, right, I'm going to go to the toilet now. Nothing will happen on the first play of the second half. But little did I know, the referees were going to miss a PI on the Bengals, and Higgins was going to run for a 72-yard touchdown or something, mad? 75 yards.
Massive. Yeah.
What was your opinion on that? Was it a miss PI by the officials? I think it was. I think you could tell with a face mask that should be brought back.
Yeah, without the face mask, it would have been hard to. But I think he was very clever. Like, he didn't intend to do the face mask. It was just a case of like trying to get round Ramsey, wasn't it? But he was very clever because the face mask was away from any official, really. Like, the only official that would have seen that is one that's towards the touchdown area. The one who's on the line wouldn't have even seen that, and I think that's the way he's got away with it, because they don't review every play. So McVay would have had to do what he always does and throw a challenge flag, and he probably would have won it. But maybe because of what happened in the conference game, that he got put off and he didn't want to challenge it. I think that we will be looking at this a completely different way if the Bengals capitalise on the fact that they had the possession straight before the half and straight after. Like, they should have turned that, like you said, they should have turned that into 2 touchdowns. Like, Rams had no momentum. They were trying to throw the ball to Skoranek. Like, he can't. How is he a wide receiver? He can't catch a ball to save his life, can he?
They were really scraping the barrel of wide receivers. Obviously, Robert Woods already out for the season, hence why they
They had
brought
no
in.
Higbee.
Yeah, they had no Terry. He
Higbee
was out for the game, so they was on their second and third. I think it was even their third tight end at times, and they were really scraping that barrel. And I think that almost did play into that third quarter, where it was just pump back and forth for a long time. I was thinking, God, I jinked this by saying this game will be over by 3 because it was a lot of free and outs, a lot of incomplete passes. That first 2 quarters, it was very free-flowing football. It went quite quick. There wasn't a lot of incomplete passes. But then, straight from there, the Rams, I mean, if the Bengals had scored before halftime and then did what they did straight after halftime, they must have been in dreamland when Matthew Stafford threw that pick. He played so well during that game, but that was just terrible play. First possession of the half to concede a touchdown, and then your first offensive possession, throw a pick like that in your territory. That's when I thought this is the Bengals' night, But once again, story of their season, couldn't convert. You're given great field opportunity like that, possession again. You could be it'd have been a 2-point game, mate, a 2-point difference then. But no, they stalled, and that's when the game stalled. Really, both teams were just not connecting at all. The Rams all game couldn't get a run game going at all. The Bengals defense was swallowing up Akers. They were swallowing up any other running back they brought in. They tried a few wide receivers we cut coming in a sweep. That just didn't work. There was losing. I think they averaged 2 yards a run at one point. It was just so poor, the run game from the Rams.
Akers has averaged a negative yardage in the playoffs this year.
Wow.
That's how bad his running performance has been in the playoffs, that he's actually got negative.
That is bad.
But I think the Rams used the third quarter, even though no one was getting anywhere. I think because the attack was on for only less than 3 plays, 3 and out, and the defense was on for 3 and out. I think they used it sort of like a recharge. McVay and his offensive coordinator were scratching their heads together trying to work out some plays, and Donald and Miller and Floyd are all getting the rest that they need, and then that's how that fourth quarter onslaught came, wasn't it?
Yeah. Burrow, I think he might have only been sacked once in the first half. In that second half, it was 6 times. Then the second half, Burrow he couldn't get it going. That offensive line, like we predicted, did collapse at one point. They did well in that first half, but that second half came. Donald and Von Miller, that defensive front really came at Burrow, and it showed. There was a lot of times, where he was 3 and 19, 3rd and 20 because he got sacked. There was just no protection at times. He couldn't get that ball out quick enough, and then
he started to do a thing that I really get on Russell Wilson for, and it's just not getting rid of the ball. Russell Wilson plays hero ball a lot, and it's really frustrating as a Seahawks fan because you will be in a good position, 2nd and 4 or something like that. And then we get to the 3rd down and we're 3rd and 24 because he's backtracked trying to find someone open. No one's becoming open, and then he finally gets caught. Rather than just seeing that there's no options, stepping out your pocket trying to make an option, and then there still isn't one, then you just got to throw it away, haven't you? Or run for the sidelines, or just try and get past the line of scrimmage and make positive yards at least. But they just... And I get that, it's a Super Bowl. You want to make something happen, don't you? You want to be the hero. Burrow's wanted to be the MVP. He was I can put the team on we're struggling here. I can put the team on my back and do it. But I just thought it was just a bit naive from him to do that when he's showed such football intelligence all year, and especially during the playoffs to obviously beat the Chiefs and things like that. And I just think he let himself down by just holding on to the ball for too long.
Yeah. Obviously, the fourth quarter came, and the referees finally found their flags. I don't know where they put them all game. Maybe they forgot them in the locker room at half time. But they found them for that in the last few minutes with some big calls against the Bengals. I do believe in this sometimes. I don't know if a lot of people do. I'm not like Ting Hat, conspiracy here, but sometimes I just think referees trying to atone for their mistakes. They'd have probably seen the missed face call, the face mask, and there was the Eli Apple, bless him. I mean, Jalen Ramsey got burned a few times in that game, but Eli Apple in that last quarter, he was on toast. He was getting absolutely rinsed, and on that 1 yard line, there was 2 massive penalties on this final drive for Matt Stafford. He leads the league since he's come in final drive game-winning drives. Since he came in 13 years ago, even with the Detroit Lions, which maybe why he leads it so much is because the Lions are always behind. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes, if you're a better team, you're not always behind. But he leads the league in game-winning drives since he's come into the league. And he led his team down. He really calmed the team down, unlike Burrow, like you say, he was trying to make something big happen. After that interception, obviously had the big one in the first half as well, which was a bit of a silly throw deep downfield. But that's what he's made for. That's why he's been brought in. That's why he's better than Goff. He's a real good quarterback, in them last 2 minutes. I quite like that with Dak as well. Like, they're quite similar in that sense. Them last they could do something silly, but them last 2 minutes were focused and they leave the team down. They were helped by the 2 penalties, and then on the goal line, they got the touchdown, cup, but then it was a call for there was 2 offsetting penalties. So once again, they went for the target of the same man and got that touchdown. But there's a brilliant video, I don't know if you've seen, of the play where Matt Stafford makes the no-look pass on that final drive.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely brilliant. It's such a good throw. How he draws the defender out. He draws that defender out, suckers him in, and not even looking, just pops it over the top of him. And Cooper Kupp did amazing to run onto that, because he's nowhere near it at the start. It's that connection these two have had this season has been absolutely astounding. To come in as a new quarterback, Cooper Kupp, he's good, but he wasn't number one at all times. In this Rams team, especially when Odell came, and you're thinking Odell's got a bit of an ego, maybe he will be. But no, Kupp carried this team, this wide receiver group, and the connection these two have had. I mean, stupidly over 1,500 yards or whatever it is this season. Countless touchdowns. These two have got a great chemistry.
Yeah. I thought, commenting on what he said about the referees wanting to balance themselves out, I thought the Wilson one, the first penalty that got him right on the goal line, I thought that was a bit harsh, because all game the refs have been letting him be physical. Like, bar the, controversial face mask on Ramsey one, like, that aside, the rest, like, there should have been plenty of penalties in that game. Definitely. But there wasn't. They were just letting them play. And then it got to the fourth quarter, when it actually mattered, and it was just like the refs. I'm an F1 fan, right? I'm sorry to go off on this tangent, but the F1, like, they're not a director. He's not their FIA director anymore.
No, he's Michael Massey.
He was like, he's always been considered to be like, makes it about him at times. You know what I mean? Like, the controversial last race when he let Verstappen, have a run at Hamilton, but we all wanted to see, but we didn't want to see it like that. You know what I mean? And I just think the refs have gone like, we've just had a boring third quarter. I can't say they picked a winner, but I also can't say that they haven't, because why would you suddenly change the dynamic of a game? The dynamic of the season, to be honest, because the season's shown that they let things go. The refs have sort of really took a backward step, because think about the last time the Rams were trying to challenge for the Super Bowl. They had that really controversial interference, didn't they? When the player got struck out and they didn't do anything about it. And then from that point on, it's been like, oh, we're just going to let them play a bit more now. And it was great. It made great football, because it wasn't a flag every 5 minutes. You could actually celebrate something like VAR over here, football. Soccer for American fans. We have VAR, so you can't even celebrate a goal anymore, because you could be there jumping about like yes, and then 2 minutes later rule it out because someone's armpit's offside. and that's what the NFL was like, because it was always the player would score a touchdown and they're looking at the rest like, oh, is there a flag? Because they were expecting a flag. But this season they've been allowed to get away with it. And I just think, why couldn't? Because probably the same result probably still would have been. The Rams would have got in the touchdown, zone. They would have. But I just think they could have just let a few more go. Like, maybe give them one to get, if they wanted to cancel out that Ramsey thing, but to give it the Wilson one, I thought was just really quite harsh. It was good linebacker defence, that.
Going on about the refs as well, I hate this new taunting rule. The new taunting rule is absolutely. I tweeted about this, and a lot of people did agree. I think it was I can't remember if it was the interception in the first half, in the goal zone, or if it was just the big stop, and a non-playing player came on into the end zone and was celebrating, and that was a 15-yard penalty. Like, who's that inciting? He's just celebrating with his teammates. He wasn't.
I know what. How did he separate a celebration or a taunting? Because what Aaron Donald did when he sacked Burrows in the last seconds, he took his helmet off and was like that to his ring finger. Is that not taunting?
Yeah, if you take your helmet off, I thought that was a 15-yard penalty. Because you're not allowed to take your helmet off on field of play. It's like, I think I tweeted this as well. I replied to a tweet of yours. All we want the refs to be is consistent. If you're not going to give them, don't give them all game. If you are going to give them, at least give them all game. But all we get, the only consistent thing with referees is how inconsistent they are. And that taunting one was so strange because there's no Rams players about. He's not going to sight anyone. He's just celebrating with his teammates. They've made a big stop. The they've got the ball back, the Bengals. He's just celebrating with his teammates. No one's near him. It's not taunting, it's celebrating. These taunting celebrations, it almost takes a bit of like, you do sort of want that stuff in the game. You don't want swearing at people, you don't want abuse, but you do want that competitive thing, Like, if you try and take that out of the game, compare it to hockey, I don't know if you've seen that brilliant video, like, the hockey players just having the referees just let them scrap. It's like a rule in the game, which is crazy to me. But yeah, you don't want to take all of it out. I can understand some of it, but some of them, if you stand over a player or something when you've sacked them, or you've caught the ball, and you stand over the defender you've just beat. If Shamar Chase, burnt Ramsey, stands over him, it can be a 10-yard penalty, and it's just like, what? They need to look at that in the off season, because you're turning the game into just like the robots are playing it. You can't show emotion because it's taunting. But going back to that game-winning drive, obviously for the Rams to come from behind in the last 2 minutes, we were really thinking, the Bengals have got this here. They need to score, but they couldn't get anything going. But when it mattered, Matt Stafford, a much more experienced quarterback than Joe Burrow, 13 years in the league, 12 miserable years in Detroit. I was happy for him. As much as we wanted the Bengals to win, I could be happy for him because he seems a nice guy. Like, he's not Aaron Rodgers. I don't want to. People like Aaron Rodgers, fair enough, but he's a nice guy. In this NFL community. Out of all the quarterbacks, he's one of the nice ones. He's a cool guy, really down to earth. And he deserves this for all them years he's spent in Detroit, and somehow was still an amazing quarterback. But his records speak for himself. His passing yards, his touchdowns, everything. And if the Rams can keep some of this team together and go again, there's no doubt in my mind, if he wins another Super Bowl, he's a Hall of Famer when he retires.
I mean, you're going to have a bit of trouble because I don't think Whitworth's going to come back.
No, he's definitely retired.
He's a major factor in that O-line. Like, I think without Whitworth, they've got a bit of vulnerability there, but then they've got no draft picks. They've got no more cap space to even go and get someone. So I can't see this team being as good next year, but they've got a great quarterback. They've got a great coach. So you can kind of bet. It's like a Belichick Brady sort of thing. You can always bet on them to be there, can't you? And if it's their day, it's their day. So
picking up on the coach, obviously Sean McVay's made some interesting comments this week. But his wife, or his fiancée, did put on Instagram last night. He was very, very drunk after all the amazing celebrations, which I always love. Like, NFL players, Americans, to us Brits, we're a bit loose at times with alcohol. Our football players
Yeah.
are especially even during the season they're a bit loose, but with American football players you don't see them as that, and then you see Tom Brady jumping off a barge or a boat like absolutely off his head. It's so cool to see. Like Matt Stafford yesterday, he just watches a woman fall, just smirks and carries on chugging a beer. Like, you've got to respect. I just love seeing that different side of players sometimes. When they're in the moment. With American football, they're always in the moment. Focusing on the next game. People are very up strict tight, but it's so cool to see them all loose, partying like that. And Sean McVay, fiance, confirmed he'll be coming back, which might be some relief to some Rams fans.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really read much into him retiring. I thought he's only just had a crack at. He's only been there 5 years, and he's not really had a crack at the coaching. He's only 36. I didn't really read into the retiring thing, other than people saying it's because of the cap hell and things like that. But they're not in as bad a situation as everyone makes out if you actually look into it. So
Same
they're
with
like
the Saints,
everyone
like
thought
you
the Saints
pointed out
were
last
really
week.
bad, but everyone thought the Saints were in cap hell, but they're not. It's just cap's just relative. Like, if you get a good accountant, you get a good GM, you can always move the goalposts, can't you? It's just a figure.
And if you pressure the NFL hard enough, they'll always raise it, which they do
Yeah.
every 2 years or so. It gets raised quite well, to be fair. I know.
Well, it's
Jerry
like it
Jones,
came down. Didn't it? It's
Yeah.
come down the last time because of obviously COVID and
COVID.
all that. But I'm expecting the next one to probably be the 20 million that he should have been, and then another 20 probably. It's probably going to jump to two. I think it's 180 now, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
going to
180.
jump to probably
Yeah.
220.
Because I know obviously Jerry Jones really tried to push for a bigger cap space when trying to sign Dak to his big contract. So that'll be interesting to see what will happen with that. But yeah, the Super Bowl, it lived up to all its hype, I think. Like, there's been a few Super Bowls recently, like I said at the beginning, where you've been like, it was good. Like, I don't think I really enjoyed last year's Super Bowl. The Chiefs never really
No.
got into it. Mahomes was pretty awful. You could tell Brady was going to win after like the first quarter. I did enjoy, obviously, Chiefs 49ers. I think that was a really good Super Bowl. Probably
Yeah.
better than this one in terms of the quality at times, consistently through the game. And then obviously you have a New England Rams one, which was probably one of the worst Super Bowls I've ever watched. But yeah, I really did enjoy this Super Bowl. And you've got to credit the Bengals. It's going to be hard to make it back here. We're in a tough division. Steelers won't have the terrible Big Ben next year. They might trade for a quarterback. Lamar, if he can recover, the Ravens were just blasted by injuries. And today there was some talk about Baker Mayfield's future being uncertain. So there might be some good quarterback, like great quarterbacks. If you look at people on the market, you could see Aaron Rodgers if things did fall apart for him at the Packers in Pittsburgh. You could see Jimmy G at Pittsburgh. There's got to be some good quarterbacks in that division. Being able to draft that offensive line or trade some offensive linemen, because Joey B needs some protection, because you don't want to get him hurt again. Like we're seeing with Odell, if you get a second ACL or something like that, it can be donezo, bye-bye. So as much as a great fairy tale it was to see the Bengals get this far, and as great as Burrow is, as great as Chase is, it's going to be hard for him to get back here. It's more likely to see the Rams here, I think, in the future, not saying next season, than the Bengals to me.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that all the Bengals are missing is an O-line. Like, I don't think their performances are a fluke per se, but I think they've capitalised on a year when a lot of other teams have been down. So, them, like say Pittsburgh, for instance, they've got a really good team, they've got a really good coach. If they get the right quarterback, they're going to be right back up there again. And it's just teams like that who have just hadn't like Tampa. I fully expect if Bruce Arians stays, I fully expect the Buccaneers to be back up there again next year. So it's just whether they can get that O-line and then keep all the rest of the key players together, because I presume they've probably got a few that are going into free agency, and it's whether they can find the money for them. I mean, if you can get rid of Eli Apple, then get rid of him. But I think everyone else you should try and bring back, and it's just about trying to piece that O line together. But I can't see any O line like people being available. Like they're a very valued commodity at the minute. So because if you're spending 40 million a year on a quarterback, you better spend another 40 million on your O line just so you can protect. So it's like the second most valuable position. Obviously you got defensive backs as well. They're quite considered really expensive people, but you've got in the hierarchy, you've probably got quarterback, defensive back, O line, haven't you? So it's like you're rarely going to get a quarterback in free agency. So I think it's going to become a time where you're rarely going to get good O line players in free agency. So if the Bengals have got a really good scouting system and they can find good ones in the draft, then great. But ones that fall outside the first round tend to not be up to scratch, for instance. So be interesting to see.
So that is the Super Bowl. It was a brilliant spectacle, as it always is. I can't wait for next year. Is it in Las Vegas next year?
Yeah, Las Vegas, yeah.
Oh,
New stadium.
I mean, tickets are going to be through the roof for that. Like, a weekend in Las Vegas from Friday to Sunday. People are going to be enjoying themselves. It really will be Sin City.
I've got a question.
Oh, go on.
Is this your favourite halftime show?
See, I quite enjoyed the weekend last year, but like...
Because you told me you napped during it. So
no, I napped for the last 10 minutes or something. I just fell asleep. Like I'm feeling it then, but I've obviously watched it back. I was really enjoying it. It was good. It's between this and the weekend from last year, but just because of all the actual show put on and the amount of people in this one, I thought it was brilliant.
One comment I do make about it though, is it just me or is the sound really rubbish?
I thought just the sound in general was quite bad on Sky. I don't know if that's because I was watching on a PlayStation 5 or something. I couldn't.
No, I could hardly see. I could hardly hear. Like, obviously, I could hear the backing music behind like Snoop and Dr. Dre, but I could hardly hear them actually. With the vocals, they probably weren't 100% live. Never are they? But
no.
I just think with it being an inside stadium as well, is that something that the NFL don't do very well? Because I thought the weekend last year was quite quiet as well.
Yeah.
And obviously he was doing quite a lot visually, wasn't he? Wasn't more. It was less about the
music
singing for the weekend. It was more about making his political statement that he was making, wasn't it?
But yeah, I thought the quality overall was the sound quality.
It was great. It was honestly, obviously 90s nostalgia was just unreal. It was just.
But yeah,
I heard on Twitter that 50 Cent was going to be there, but I didn't read much into it, and then out he pops from the ceiling.
But yeah, I can definitely say much better than like the few years before when they had like Coldplay, Lady Gaga. I mean,
they've had a few bad years.
Yeah.
Beyonce
Coldplay.
Was good.
Yeah, Beyonce was, but yeah, especially Coldplay.
Yeah, Beyonce was really good.
Wonder who we'll get next year. I haven't seen any rumours or anything yet, so that'll be cool to see what direction they're going.
Mm.
Now, I don't know if because the Cowboys did better this season. Dak wasn't hurt. We got to a playoffs. We actually at one point looked like we'd go win the Super Bowl. If you're a deluded Cowboy fan like I am. But I enjoyed this season so much more than I did the season before. I think the football was better because there was a crowd there. I've noticed this with football over here. During Project Restart and sometimes it's slowed down a lot. Sometimes it's very lethargic. You need crowds to get like people up and pumped and the adrenaline running. It's so hard to play like a professional sport in an empty stadium. Where's your motivation? Like when you're down, like how are you getting back up? There's no fans to cheer you on. So I thought this season it was just, especially with everyone being back. That first sort of like few weeks, it was loud. It was I think it was at like 200%. Obviously, as you get into November, December, tiredness, injuries, it drops off a bit. But I thought this season was really good, and you had so many teams involved. The 49ers came from nowhere, the Bengals came from nowhere. Like the season before, the teams who got there were quite predictable. From the predictions at the start, but this year there were so many surprise teams. It was a brilliant season.
Yeah, Obviously, I'm not going to come out on the Seahawks because we gave the Jets a bloody top 10 pick. That's how bad we were. I mean, hopefully we can make a good amount of moves this offseason. Keep Russell Wilson because I can't see the grass being greener without him. Because I don't think we're going to find anyone. We're not going to find anyone as good as him. And the only way it's going to free us up to get it only free us up to get an O line, which is what he's screamed for the whole time he's been there. But there's no point in getting an O line if we don't have him.
I'm sure Geno Smith could use a goal line.
Well, Geno Smith could use a lot, but not being a number one quarterback would be a start.
He could use Russell Wilson's arm.
I mean, the Seahawks, like, historically have never liked a first round pick anyway, so it's never bothered me that. But I just was hoping that the Jamal Adams trade had like a clause in the first round pick. You know, if we were really bad, it was somehow protected. Yeah, no, but you know what I mean, like top 10 protected or something like. You know what some teams do?
Yeah,
I was hoping it was something like that because the Jets have obviously got a really good deal out because Jamal Adams is great as a linebacker, but he's a safety and we can't even play him there because he's not good at it. So that's why we had to use him in blitz all year because whenever we put him in safety, he would never actually do the job. So, but yeah, the rest of the season was because I'm a Seahawks fan, but I also just love the NFL, so I can watch any game. So even though the Seahawks were rubbish, I still enjoyed the season so much, and I still even though the Seahawks were in the playoffs, I still love the playoffs. Watched every single game, as I will do next year. So, and it was like my second team, sort of like I do have like a thing towards the Bills, so I was quite upset that they didn't get there, but I thought they're my favourites for next year already, I'd say.
Yeah, game of the season easily goes to that Bills team against the Chiefs. That was just what a game that was. You know, I don't think we'll see a better game in a long time. But yes, it was a brilliant season. I'm so excited it's ended. It came around. I waited for it so long. It came around and it ended so quick. I can't wait for that first game, that Thursday night game, to open the curtains. The Rams.
Probably be the Lions.
A homecoming for Matt Stafford with a Super Bowl. That'd be pretty cool, actually. But yeah,
they always give the Thursday night footballs to the Lions for some reason. They always give them Thanksgiving as well.
I mean, they're the only 2 times you go get Detroit on prime time. Trust me. No, let's watch them.
And old Jared Goff on the comeback train.
Oh, he's won 2 games without McVay, so not much hope for that. But yeah, that has been the 2021 season. The LA Rams are champions of the world or America. But if you're the best in the sport overall, I guess you are the best in the world. It's come round and gone so fast, like I said, but we will not be going anywhere. Yes, the videos, the podcast will slow up from time to time for now, just because there'll be a lack of news of all the coaching jobs have been filled. We will still come round when there's got to be some trades, there's got to be some movement. Carson Wentz looks like he might be off from the Indianapolis Colts, which is, that didn't work out. The general manager and the owner really don't like him and the decisions he's made and just how he presents himself. There's the Kyler Murray drama, which it seems so pathetically childish. He's claiming he doesn't like drama. This isn't him, when he instigated all the drama, and it's all on him. He started all this, and there's reports coming out that he's very petulant, he's immature, he's not a great leader. So we'll see what happens with him. You never know. It's crazy if he could just go off to MLB. He could have been a baseball player, but he chose the NFL because, of course, he would. But he could go. He seems very childish. He doesn't seem a good teammate at all. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of drama, as there always is, even in the off season. Mike McCarthy goes on the Rick Eisen show and then gets put in his place by Jerry Jones, who says we have 2 head coaches already in the building. I'll be watching you back, Mike. Especially with Sean Payton out there. There's Dan Quinn just behind you as well. I don't see the last game of the season, to be honest. Even if we're like 6-2, he could go at any moment. So we will be definitely back for the draft. And yeah, it's been a great season. There'll be 2 a month, and then we'll be back for the off season. I can't wait. This has been the Pick-6 podcast for the 2021 season. Thank you for all your support in these last 5 weeks or so. It's been really good seeing all the support. So thank you, and we will see you both. We both will see you next time. There's definitely more than 2 listeners, I promise.
Thank you very much.